grow out of it.
Yeah, that's right. And she comes in sometimes and looks at the fish. She loves that. And then you can't get her out of the place.
Yeah, and I've offered to allow her to stay there, you know.
You just drop her off.
No, I'll take her back when she's graduating college. Let me know.
Yeah, she can help out a little bit.
You'll do a better job with her than me. There's no argument there.
No.
Now, Karen, have you read the book?
I had the book. Lee gave me the book. My son confiscated it, took it with him. So Lee gave me another book, and I just started to read the first chapter while, you know, in between customers and stuff. But I will definitely read it before the month is over.
Okay, well, we're going to spoil some of it for you tonight, but not all of it.
I'm listening. I just started listening. I didn't even know that this radio station existed.
Yeah. Oh, does it ever?
So you have a new listener.
Yeah, only for the last 20 years, but yeah. But Daniel's working on that, right, Daniel?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. And just for the other 848 listeners, I'd like to say that
salmon in the oven.
If you want to call in, the number is 209-647-1600. At the prompt, type the access code 359310 #.
Very good. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate that.
That's okay. If you want to email us, you can email mark@northstar-radio.co.uk.
Right. Oh, but you know what? I'm so busy with people Facebooking me while I'm trying to talk to Lee. You'd probably do better just emailing Daniel or Steve. What are you guys' addresses again?
What happened to Donia?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. Oh, I like the way you say that. I don't know. You almost sound innocent. I don't know.
I don't know.
He had nothing to do with it.
We didn't do anything to her.
Daniel, could you give out yours and Steve's email addresses, please?
Yeah, sure. Steve's. I'm not giving mine out because I don't want the complaints. Steve's is steve@northstar-radio.co.uk, and I suppose I'll give you mine. It's studio.
Close the door.
Studio@northstar-radio.co.uk.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate that. Now, Lee, back to your book. Now, as I was reading your book, for me, the part that really started catching me was like if I'm reading something and it really gets a hold of me, I start feeling what the character, the person, is describing. For me, it was your dad describing this god-awful trip from Penn Station down to Paris Island. And I mean, I mean, the way it was described, I was actually sitting in a very comfortable in my studio, very comfortable, and my comfy chair and my cigar. I had my cup of coffee, and I'm enjoying what I'm reading. And all of a sudden, I'm starting to find myself feeling disheveled. I felt out of sorts. I didn't feel right. I felt like I was sitting on this crappy train with no air to breathe, smoke piling in the windows, and beastly hot. I wasn't hot at all, but I was boiling hot. The way you described that absolutely blew my mind. That was like, for me, that was the hook. That was the hook.
That just shows you that I have spent decades honing my craft. Thank you.
No kidding. Absolutely.
The job of the writer, a writer's right. But the job of a writer is to put you in the shoes, in the skin of the character, and show you a life that you never would have experienced had you not read that passage.
Exactly.
So thank you. You just said that I did my job.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Thank you. I worked hard at that. I worked very hard at that.
I've been on train rides like that, and it brought back such memories. And
of crappy train rides, Steve?
Yeah. I've ridden several trains in Africa that made that train ride look like a luxury ride.
Yeah. Now, there's a bunch of characters in this story. There's guys that are in Bougainville, and then there's guys that he goes to Paris Island with, and then there's of course.
They were all my uncles. I knew them all.
Yeah,
I knew all the ones that lived. I knew them. I was convinced they were my blood relatives, and they loved me. I really thought I had 17 uncles.
Well, I'm going to tell you that the guy that I fell in love with in this story, believe it or not, was D.I. Horton, the drill instructor.
Oh, I do too. My father repeatedly said he saved his life. Now, for those of you who read the book, I can say why.
Yeah, go ahead.
Want me to say why?
Yeah, I want to say why.
Well, why don't I'd like to do this. I'd like you to go around and around Robin here. Tell me your one impression. Give me one sentence that sums up Horton for you.
Oh, well, for me,
to let me know if I put it out there the right way.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, the thing that got me right away was when he calls your dad into his office, and he walks in there, and naive guy, doesn't know how he's supposed to respond, doesn't know what he's supposed to say, doesn't know what he's supposed to do.
My father's expression, he didn't know whether to shit or go blonde.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And anyway, he goes in there, and Horton just lays into him, and just petrifies your dad, just terrifies him. And that is where the line comes in, where he yells at him, "Never anticipate the command, Shepard." It was just fantastic.
That's right. That's the title of the book.
Would you mind explaining to people what does "never anticipate the command" mean?
For you lay people who have never had a military exposure, the command is basically when the person in charge says either run, duck, fire, retreat. The command is the action you are physically going to do. Mm-hmm. Okay? Anticipation of the command basically says you don't have the patience or the discipline to wait to hear what the command will be. So what they drill into your head in boot camp is you wait. You'll wait for days if you have to, standing up, sleeping. Right. But you do not move until you are given the command. So to anticipate the command is to say, this is what I think they're going to do, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Mm-hmm. The discipline in being a Marine, or part of the discipline, is to wait to receive your order, even if you die waiting.
All right. Now, I'd like to hear a Marine's perspective on this. Bill?
Yeah. Well, Bill fell asleep.
No, I'm not asleep.
No, he's not asleep.
Hanging on every word. And,
yeah. Bill, you did some time in the Corps. She's
got it right. She's got it down pat, and it's in a nutshell. She's got it. But it also, if you anticipate the command and you make the incorrect decision of what you think the command is, and you don't maintain your discipline, it could cost you your life.
Right.
And others around you, their lives as well.
Correct.
Wow.
So, Marines, I'm kind of biased. We're in my world, in my Marine Corps world, we are the most disciplined, and we have good examples out there. You've seen time and time and again when Marines, even during an 8th and I ceremony, mm-hmm. tossing weapons back and forth, and a Marine gets bayoneted and maintains the discipline to pull the bayoneted weapon out of his body and continue on with the ceremony. That's the discipline is so drilled into you in Marine Corps boot camp that it molds you for the rest of your life.
No kidding. Wow. All right. Well, Steve.
Yes, sir.
You've got to be shoving off a little while because you've got some MOA duties to attend to.
That's correct.
I want to get to you next. In terms
let's hear about Horton. Horton, remember Horton?
Yes. As I was reading the story, and particularly as it related to drill instructor Horton, I was impressed with this hard man who was charged with this duty to teach these young men how to be disciplined Marines. And he seemed to be very hard and very difficult, but you knew that he had their 100% best interest at heart, mm-hmm. and that he was trying to shape them into being the Marines that they needed to be, and to be Marines that would be successful and would come home.
Yeah.
And so even though he came across as this hard guy, you knew that his love and concern for those young men that were in his charge was at the forefront of everything that he did.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I was really touched by that. Here was a man that lived the Marine Corps code, and showed that not just by his actions, not just by the things that he taught, but by the very way that he lived.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, Horton kills me. Yeah, he was just.
Well, can I shed the light on Horton now?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, part of the training, which was brutal, was that if a man would fall during the exercises, Horton screamed over and over, "Step on them, step on them, step on them."
Step on their face, step on their back, their legs, their hand, and whatever. Step on them. Don't stop. Don't break ranks.
You got it. Don't break ranks. And to his dying day, my father would just look at me and say, whenever I would complain about something, he would just look at me and say, "I never crapped out." So my father was the only man who went through Paris Island who basically never crapped out, and he was the only man who never got a KP or a shite detail because of that.
Yeah.
And what happened was, after my father did return from the war, what he realized was, I did not expand upon this in the first book. It's more in the second book.
Okay.
What they will not tell, what I did not describe upon the landings with the Higgins boats and climbing down the nets, because when a ship entered a harbor, especially in Empress Augusta Bay off the coast of Bougainville, or even when they landed on Guadalcanal or Guam, they were met with enemy resistance. Can you hear me?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Enemy, you all right there, Bill? I know it's you coughing.
No, it's not me coughing.
Oh, that's us.
No, you got it. That's some smoker out there. When they were met when they were met with resistance, what it meant was they were being strafed by Japanese bombers from the air. They were being shot at by embedded, dug-in Japanese with guns in the beach from caves. And they were also being bombarded from the sides. There was also enemy aircraft flying over the head, not strafing, but bombing.
Right.
So what my father described to me was, halfway down climbing the net, 1/3 of the Marines would have been shot dead and fell to 50 to 75 feet, landing and hitting the bottom of the Higgins boat. When they climbed down, if you were lucky enough to live to climb down, you then had to take the Higgins boat, standing on top of your dead fellow soldiers. And then when you hit the beach, you didn't hit the beach. You had to jump out when the trap fell, which meant you were released into about 6 feet of water with a 75-pound backpack on your back, with your gun over your head, your M1 rifle.
Right.
And wade into the land, still being strafed from the air, still bombs going off, still being shot by enemy troops from the beach, dug in a safety. And by the time they hit the beach, probably, I don't know, half the guys you landed with were already dead.
Right.
And as you started climbing up the beach and walked into the beach and hit the beach and actually hit land, and if you've ever gone swimming or surfing and you're trying to get out of the water,
right.
when the water's pulling in, they had to step on their dead fellow patriots.
Brutal.
And my father basically said all he heard, he never had a moment to think, because in his mind he memorized Horton's face and Horton's voice. Step on them, walk on them. And that's why the training was so brutal, because he knew that they would be walking over their dead fellow soldiers if they were going to live. And if you stopped, you were dead.
Right.
Well, that's the DI's job, is to prepare them.
That was it. Well, I got to meet Uncle Horton.
Oh, really? What was that
I
like?
met them all. Well, let me put it this way. If I ever had a godfather, it was him. He scooped me up in his arms and made me feel like I was his own daughter.
No kidding.
Because he looked at me, he says, if anyone was going to go home, he goes, even though he was a Yankee, he goes, I knew your daddy was coming home.
He rode the Yanks.
Yes, he did.
That's why he was such a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in the end, all my dad's best friends were the Southerners, and we went back and forth from Georgia and also from South Carolina, someplace called Beaufort in South Carolina, and that's where Horton was from.
Right.
And when I met D.I. Horton, I knew he was a son of a gun, and he says, "Now, what did your daddy tell you about